Hello, friends. Just getting everything backed up a little bit. And I gotta get my phone plugged in. All right. I gotta get. Let's make sure I'm in the correct groove. Why is my iPad being funky? Oh, I tell you. All right, we are good. I don't know why it's. I gotta turn my volume off. All right, if you guys are dropping by, leave a comment to say hello. And we will get into crafting very, very soon. Hope everybody is having a fantastic Monday night. I usually don't go live on Mondays. I usually go live another day of the week. So this is a first for me, but it's going to be fun. And of course, I left my water on the kitchen table. I always forget one thing at least. Let's hope that's the only thing. So if you're stopping by, leave a quick comment to say hi. Put that up there for now. And we're going to have some fun tonight with the Casita Familia stamp set. I have not used this before. No, that's a lie. I did use this before. I used this during my first April Facebook Live, and we used the sentiment, "There's magic inside of you." And during that Facebook Live, I promised I would use this for my second Facebook Live of the month. So here we are. This Facebook Live is going to be just a little different than some of the ones I've done in the past. I am using a colored up image in advance. That's the main difference. And I won't be doing color alongs during this video. I did go ahead and get the house all colored up in advance. This is the only image that we're going to be using. And I just thought it was going to take a little too long if I did it on my own. So just bear with me tonight. We're going to make a fun card for this house to go on. All right. Excuse me. Still battling a little bit of a cough. So I do apologize for that. I have a cough drop ready to go as well. So we're utilizing that. So what we're going to do tonight, I pulled the Casita Courtyard paper pack, which of course coordinates with this stamp set. And I have die cut out this horizontal striped pattern. I think we're going to use it like this. No, we'll use it like that. And the house is going to essentially go like this onto the card. And we're going to add a sentiment, but of course we've got to doll it up a little bit first. So what we're going to do is some ink blending. So I am going to go in, and I have the stitched square. This is from the Card Basics die set. And I am going to tape it down to my glass mat. All right. Yeah, phooey. All right, so we're going to go ahead, and I forgot all my blending tools. That's what I forgot today. That's okay. So I'm going to grab my inks and my blending tools, and we're going to be blending this up with some oxide blues. So I've got some blues that we're going to use. I also have some pinks. I've got some yellows. And then lastly, I have some oranges as well. And we're going to use all of these to blend up a really pretty background. As we do, you know. So let's go ahead, put that down, and I'll put all of my blending tools in my little holding tray. And let's get into some blending. So what we're going to start with is we're going to start with some tumbled glass. And I'm going to go ahead and add this to the top. And I'm very quickly realizing I don't really need to take these down because they're just going to move. So we're going to pull that up. And I'm just going to use my block, and that's going to help me out a lot. And like I said, if anyone has a comment or dropping by, just let me know. Any questions, anything, I'm here for that. All right, next we're going to do a little bit of pink, and this is going to be some spun sugar. And we're just going to drop this right below. Blend it into the tumbled glass. It's going to be a lighter blend. You'll see why in a little bit. All right, so we've got our spun sugar. Next, we're going to do some dried marigold. And I'm going to flip this and do the dried marigold underneath the spun sugar. And I'm going to add a little bit more. I just used the wrong ink. It's okay. So I'm going to go ahead and just clean this off real quick. And then we're going to go in with some spun sugar. Just blend it together. And lastly, we're going to blend a little bit of scattered straw. It's like playing that peg game at Cracker Barrel. I'm going to put some scattered straw down on the bottom. And blend it with some dried marigold. All right, so there we've got a really soft sort of sunset vibe. And what we're gonna do next is we are gonna splatter it with a little bit of water. I'll show you guys what I'm doing. And this is gonna give it some nice bleach marks. And just kind of let that sit for a second. And put these off to the side. I like to let the water sit on the paper for a couple seconds because it allows the ink to get pulled off the paper more, and I get more defined bleach spots, like I call them. So I'm gonna pull that up. And I'll bring it a little closer to the camera to show you just it's got some spots on here. So what we're going to go ahead and do next is I did pull a stencil from my stash, and we're going to use the weave stencil because I wanted to add a little bit more pattern to our project. And I always like to take an opportunity to pull out a good stencil from the Kindred collection. The weave stencil is still in stock. In fact, I saw earlier, I believe it's on sale for $4.99. So definitely snag it if you haven't yet. This is a really fun and bold stencil to use. It's also really easy to work with. So one of my recommended ones for certain. So I'm going to go in and I am going to tack down my stencil, and then we're going to do a little bit of ink blending on top of it. So I'm going to take Mermaid Lagoon like this, and let me grab my blending block or my acrylic block, and I'm going to blend the Mermaid Lagoon anywhere that I see that tumbled glass peeking through. And then next, I'm going to pull in Kitsch Flamingo, and that's going to be the second color that we're going to do. And we're going to do that right below. Anywhere I would see that spun sugar peeking through, and then also blending it into that Mermaid Lagoon. It is going to give me a little bit of a purple vibe where they meet. That's a-okay. There's not too much we can do to fully avoid that, so we're just going to embrace a little bit of purple. And there's a little bit of purple in the colored in image as well, so that definitely helps. Third color we're going to do is Spiced Marmalade. I'm going to blend that in right next to it. And I'm also going to take that Kitsch Flamingo and just sort of buff it out to make sure that pink doesn't fully disappear from the Kitsch Flamingo. There we go, just like that. And we can put this away. And last one we have is I pulled some fossilized amber. I didn't want to go super bright with the yellow. I wanted something with a little bit more mutedness to it. So I'm going to add this to the bottom, just like this. Hello, Christian. Oh, thank you so much. I thought it was a fun combination. And then I'm going to show you in a second. I want to do a little bit more of the spiced marmalade. Perfect. So, when you do a good old peel reveal, you got this really fun pattern, and the colors coordinate the dark and the light, but the colors also coordinate with the colors on our pattern paper as well. So I thought that was just a fun little thing to do for our project today. Add a little bit of texture. We're going to do a little bit more to this in a second. I'm going to set it off to the side, but I do want to do a little bit of cleanup just while I've got everything out in front of me. So let's go in, quickly kind of clean it up. I do have one of my Kindred craft towels, so I'll do some good old cleaning. All right. Perfect. Okay, I'll set that off to the side. Don't need my stencil anymore. And then I did want to do a little bit of paper splattering. So I am going to grab some opaque white paper splatter. And I got some sparkle that's kind of dries clear, and I think that'll look good too. So we'll use both of them. So I'm going to go ahead, put that down, grab a clean brush, kind of make sure that nothing is in the line of fire. And let's do some white first. And splatter onto our background, just to add a little bit of magic to it. Awesome. Now, because it is white, and because the ink, of course, is not 100% dry, it is going to pull up some of the color behind it. That's okay. I'm just going to grow to accept that. There's not much you can do unless you are working with like a permanent ink. This is always going to be water reactive because there's, of course, liquid qualities to the opaque paper splatter. You're always going to have to deal with that. So I'm going to water this down just a little bit and splatter this. I do want to set it aside to dry. I just thought that pattern was fun. Just something a little different. Doesn't directly tie into the fandom, but I think that this is really pretty how this turns out. Hi, Leah. Hope you're having a good night. Thanks for tuning in. All right, so we're going to set that off to the side. No, don't fall over. That's okay. All right. Next, I am going to do a little bit of cleanup. I like to try and do cleanup as I'm crafting just because it helps keep things clean and doesn't promote any sort of cross-contamination. And let's see, move this off to the side. We got a faller, that's okay. A jumper. And put that away. Perfect. Okie doke. So let's work on some other elements of our card. So I wanted to show you something that I really enjoy doing with the Card Basics stamp set. I'm going to use the sentiment from Casita Familia that says your star burns bright. So I thought it would be really cool to incorporate some stars. So there are 3 nested stars that are included with the Card Basics die set. And I like to use them as a nested set, and I'll show you what I do. So what I like to do, I just put them into place, grab a little bit of tape. I like to put them, all 3, directly inside one another, just like this. Actually, I don't know if I want to use that color. I'll come back to that in a minute. Actually, I set all of this aside because I know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to use that paper. I'm going to use this one later. This one I have to see if I want to use. I have this and this. All right. So I'm going to go in with these stars. I'm going to just nest them real quickly. And what I mean by nest, I mean is stack them inside of one another. Just kind of Make sure they all line up as best as possible. Just like that. And then I'm gonna press them down like this, so they all nest inside one another. And then I am gonna take my die cutting machine, and I'll bring it on camera, just so you guys can see me do it. So, because they're nested, I now have 3 stars that were cut out. And I'm gonna go ahead and poke them out. So I've got 1, then I've got 2, and lastly, I've got 3. Oop, that's okay. So boom, 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 1, 2, 3. So I'm gonna put these off to the side, and I'm going to die cut from the blue paper. And if I was a little bit more careful, I would have been able to just kind of pull up the dies all as one piece and not have to keep repositioning them. But I wasn't super careful. Wanted to show you guys what I was doing, and sometimes that just means you gotta do it again, and that's okay. So I'm gonna go in, make sure everything is as good as I can make it. Now I die cut the blue. So let's see, we've got, pop them out. We've got 1, 2, and 3. Awesome, so we've got our blue, we've got our watermelon color, but I don't want to do that red paper that I pulled, so I am going to really quickly, I think I've got some metallic paper I've been holding on to, and I think it'd be fun to use some of that. That's rose gold. I don't want rose. Do I want rose? No, I've got 2 things of rose gold. Why do I have so much rose gold? Maybe we'll use silver. I'm gonna grab a piece of some silver cardstock. Really pretty cardstock. Show it to you guys. It's got some really nice shine to it. And we're gonna just, right off camera, I'm gonna trim it down to a smaller size, just so it's a smaller size to work with. And that way we can do a little bit of pops of silver on the card, and I think that's gonna work really nicely. So, let me just show you guys I'm working. 1, I'm trying to center this as best as I can. 2, you can see me fidgeting in the bottom right corner, and 3. So I've got my 3, tacking it down, and then we're going to go ahead and process it through. So this is just a really easy way to get multiple stars and to have some fun effects with them as well. So we're gonna pop them out, and then we got 1, I've got 2, and lastly, I've got 3. So we've got 3 silver stars, 3 watermelon stars, and 3 light blue stars. I don't really need more than that. You can make more if you want. This is kind of an easy thing to do. I just kind of did it quick. And if you guys go back to a couple different cards of mine, you'll see that I incorporate this, not like all the time, but it's definitely made an occasion on, or an appearance on projects more than a couple of times. So, and now I'm missing, wherever I put my card basic set, here it is. I think one of the first times I used these, I did it for You've Got Style. I also think I did it for Pony Pals, which was, what was that? That was March. Gosh, I can't believe we're at the end of April. This month has really flown by. Hello, Bethany. Thank you for stopping by. And then we're going to put this stamp or die set away because I don't need it. All right, so we're going to do that. Let's see. And I think it's time to also work on our sentiment. So I'm going to grab my Misty, and we'll work on that as well. I'm trying to give our panel a little bit of time to dry before I got to bop it with a little bit of a heat, which I think is inevitable. But I'm going to take this more of like a poppy colored cardstock. Actually, I think that's exactly what it's called. And I am going to take the Casita Familia set, and I'm going to use the sentiment, Your Star Burns Bright, because I think it works really well with all these stars. Honestly, if had I not used There's Magic Inside of You, that probably would be my #1 pick. But we're going to use this one, and it's going to be just as fantastic. This is an embossing tool by Tailored Expressions. I use it for all my heat embossing. I've got my Kindred embossing pad. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to ink this up. I'm going to stamp it out. Perfect. And then I am going to take a piece of scrap paper, take a little bit of Snowfall embossing powder, pour it on top, tap off the excess. Awesome. And then put all the extra into this little jar. And I almost just dumped my water everywhere. I also want to very carefully try to buff that out, but I can't, and that's okay because it's not embossing powder. So we're going to take a heat gun. Let's clean off our stamp while we're at it. All right, put it away. I also thought it would be really pretty to use the Oa sentiment from the set as well. But the way that I wanted to use it with heat embossing, I was afraid of all of the blank space behind it. So I decided against it. I think that's okay. Put our Casita Familia set away. Okay, so I'm going to put my Misty away. And I am going to grab my chair because I've been standing. And let's start kind of planning on our background. Let's make sure I don't think I've missed any comments, which is good. If you guys have any questions, just be sure to let me know. So my idea is, so we're going to have our flourishes. Are they supposed to go up? No. Yes. Okay. So this is the way the pattern paper shows it, and I want our house, as Audra would put it. I almost said a bad word. I don't think so. It's a Casita. I can say Casita. It's called Casita Familia, so I don't think that's a bad word. So I'm going to go in. I may or I may not mat our square. I cut this out just to kind of, because it could work as a mat. I just don't know if it's necessary. And I want that to go like that because it kind of pulls in from the background. But I also need to fussy cut out the sentiment. So let me wipe this off real quick. I'll fussy cut that. Awesome. And I'm going to pull in my detail scissors. And let's kind of Make it a smaller piece to work with. And just sort of fussy cut around it. Being nice and gentle and taking our time. You know me, I do like to fussy cut sentiments. I think it gives them a little bit more personality than just putting them on a sentiment strip. But if that's your jam, by all means, go for it. Some sentiments, though, I don't think fit really nicely onto sentiment strips. I would almost argue that this is one of them, just because it's a little bit more on the cursive side. And I feel like having a cursive or a more script-based font for a sentiment sometimes kind of goes against just like the straight edges of a normal sentiment strip die. But this is just the way my mind thinks when I'm crafting. By all means, please make whatever decisions you think work best for you. You could also like fussy cut this and then second take a sentiment strip and like do the fussy cut and then put it onto a different color sentiment strip. That could be a fun effect. I own a scan and cut. I really wish that there was a way for a scan and cut to recognize if you're like working with separated images but you want them to cut together. People are always like, oh, just go ahead and take a pencil and like draw a border around it. And I'm like, I don't want to have to do that. It's like, now you're asking me to draw. Like, I didn't like sub out cutting so I could now freehand draw. But some people swear by it. More power to you. All right, so we got your star burns bright, which I think is perfect. All right, I do think I unfortunately am gonna have to zap this with a heat gun. Because I see a couple wet spots. What's Christian saying? Christian says, Bethany says, love those colors together. You are so sweet. Thank you. Christian says, I need to get better at using my scan and cut. I've had it for a few years, and I keep trying to cut the heads off. Oh, I keep cutting the heads off characters someday. Oh, Christian, there's definitely a learning curve to it that makes it easier. But I think even as you become more accustomed to it, you can never predict when like your mat is going to lose a slight bit of tackiness, and like it's just gonna ruin your image. That's happened to me, and like that's devastating. And literally it just takes like a brief second of like tilting your head away. And then like you look back and all of a sudden your paper is moving like this on the sticky mat. And I'm just like, oh my goodness. We don't need that. All right, so let's see what I'm doing. I can just put this here. Your star burns bright. And then I just kind of wanted some cascading stars, I think. Just down the side. I think that would be really pretty. Just like a little sort of arrangement of sorts of these stars. I think that would be really pretty. And then like, of course we gotta get a good pop of silver. So we're gonna do that. And then I don't think I'm gonna need to map this, but I could. It doesn't take up that much space. I don't know, maybe I will, just to use it up. It's just so thin. Yeah, why not? Okay, so we're gonna do the cascading stars off to the side, and then we're gonna do our sentiment, but that'll work, And then we're gonna do our house, just kind of in there. I like this. I think that there are some more fun ways that you could utilize this house. And of course, during a Facebook Live, I feel like sometimes I'm just a little limited as to what I can do because, I don't know, we don't have that much time together. I don't want to make us, I like that, kind of off to the side. I like that. Sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. Okay, so we're gonna figure this out. Let's get my Misty. Precision glue press. All right, so the matte shift. Oh, it's such a headache, Christian. It really is. All right, so let's do these cascading stars. I don't know. I know that like stars kind of go against, they're like a more geometric shape than the flourishes that the pattern paper provides. But I don't think I could resist using them when the sentiment basically begs for it, you know? Let's see. That would be my cough drop. All right. Let's see what we got. And there's just some really fun ways that you can arrange these. I kind of like to have them go off the paper a little bit. Let's see. Just kind of pop these stars around. Make sure they don't repeat. I hear birds in my yard. And we'll pop this silver one. Like maybe over here. I don't know. Just kind of playing around with layouts a little bit. Layouts and die cuts. Cool. All right, so we've got that down. I think that's really fun. Trim the edges. Awesome. I could, even if I wanted to, I could like bring in a pop of silver. We'll do that just to have a little bit in the corner. Why not? I like to play with the bits and bobs. So we're gonna go in. A little bit of silver there. Maybe all the silver here. Could. Just kind of push it down. All right. So we've got our cascading stars. And I'm going to do this just a little offset. We're gonna do a little offset. Good. I'm gonna go ahead, pop that down. Like this. All right, let's grab some foam tape to put behind our house. We'll pop that up. It's a little chaotic with all the stars, but I like it. Just gonna put the foam on the back. All right. I probably could have jazzed up those stars a little bit more too, ink blended them or something. That's okay. All right, so we're gonna go in and put this sort of flush to the bottom, like that. And we're gonna add our sentiment that says your star burns bright. That. Just make it nice. Yeah. That. Let's put it on a card base. There we go. It's been a busy card making month in my house too, Christian. April's been a little wild. I've been doing a bunch of posts for the Coloring Club Challenge on Instagram, 10 of them. So that's definitely added. Oh, thanks so much, Carrie. Welcome, welcome. Glad you could stop by. So that's like in addition to what my normal workload is. So. All right. Let me see. Are we going to do any embellishments? Usually I do. What do I want to do? It's really I don't know what I want to do. I'm just pulling out a bunch of things of enamel dots, seeing if one sort of strikes my interest. I guess this one will work. I'll use some muted colors. Do pink and yellow. That. And then I'll do blue. And then add a yellow one on the yellow. Oh, yeah, yeah. Hold on. No, that works. Excuse me. I think we're good. So, a little bit of a different live, and I definitely took a couple shortcuts, we'll say, but I really think that this was a fun card, and it was a fun way just kind of to experiment with a stamp set I've been wanting to use, and then also some patterned papers that I love, and I kind of figured out, after I planned everything out, that the colors of the house do not directly coordinate with the colors of the paper, and that's okay. I think on hindsight, I could have made a couple modifications, but I just sort of went with it. I thought the stars would be really pretty for the sentiment, and the stars definitely tie in with the paper. I think the sentiment really works. I think that this card packs a lot of brightness, which I think really is going to help who's ever receiving it. The other thing that I think is just really nice about it is that it was an excuse to just color something that I'd been wanting to color. I love the colors of this house. I love how it blends a bunch of bold colors that don't normally go together. One of my favorite things to color up were actually the tree and the flowers. And I don't know if you can tell with the flowers, but I blended purple and pink into each other while I was doing the coloring. I'm trying to bring it closer so you can see. It's mostly pink, but you can see some little bits and bobs of purple in there. And that's the sort of coloring that I feel so accomplished when I find blends like that when they work, because it feels like such a gamble. But I think this turned out really, really well. And I know I made the right choice in coloring up the house in advance, because even right now it's 6:45. I know this is a little shorter than most of my Facebook Lives at this point, but in 45 minutes, it took us to put the whole card together. I know that with coloring up this house took me probably about 55 minutes as I carefully colored everything up with it. So thank you all for stopping by tonight. I will get this up in the fan club soon. Like I said, I know it's a little, I don't know, maybe it's just a little bit more wild than what I'm used to, but I think it was fun just to go in and play around with some of our stuff. I'll get this in the fan club. I'll get this to my YouTube channel. I set aside all of the markers that I used for this. I'm going to try and put it all into the YouTube description as well. I just don't know really how to describe each area of the home. I think I'm going to call it like red-brown roof, tan roof, and then just like yellow walls, green walls, pink walls, purple walls. Yeah, I'll figure it out. Anywho, thank you all so much for stopping by. I will be back next month with more Facebook Live inspiration. Maybe a little bit more cohesive than tonight, but that's okay. And I'll see you guys around real soon. Thank you all so much for stopping by, and have a great evening. Goodbye.